Hello and welcome to our midweek meditation. I'm Victor Kim, the lead minister here at Richmond Presbyterian Church, and it's good to be with you. This past Sunday was the second Sunday in Lent, and I want to follow up on something that I preached about on Sunday. You know the story of the little red hen? Do you know the story of the little red hen? It's one of the favorite children's stories, and when my daughter was very young, her class at school, I think it was her kindergarten class, performed the story. For those of you that don't know it, it goes something like this. There once was a little red hen who lived on a farm. She was friends with a lazy dog, a sleepy cat, and a noisy yellow duck. One day, the little red hen found some seeds on the ground, and she had an idea. She would plant the seeds in the ground. Who will help me plant these seeds? She asked. None of the other animals offered to help. So the little red hen planted them herself. Then when the seed had grown into wheat, she asked, who will help me cut the wheat? Again, none of the other animals would help, so she did it herself. And so it goes from carrying the wheat to the mill, grinding the wheat into flour, carrying the flour back to the farm, and baking the flour into bread. At no point in this whole process do any of the other animals offer to help, so the little red hen did it herself. But when the little red hen finishes baking the bread and asks whether anyone would like to help her eat the bread, well, all the other animals volunteer to help her. No, says the little red hen, you didn't help me before. I did all the work myself. So now I will eat the bread all by myself. And so she did. What a children's story that is, eh? Maybe there's a moral in that somewhere. It might even be biblical, something to the effect that if you don't work, you can't eat or you shouldn't eat. But in the gospel reading from last Sunday on which I preached, Jesus compares himself to a hen, a mother hen who gathers her brood under her wings. I don't think that the imagery Jesus uses for himself is anything like the one presented in that children's tale of the little red hen. And of course, in that same biblical passage, Jesus calls Herod, King Herod, a fox, associating Herod with this sinister animal that has really no redeeming qualities at all. And as I said in my sermon on Sunday, I think we have downplayed, over time, we have downplayed the sinister qualities of the fox in our modern understanding. We tend to think of foxes as being clever, not the menacing, ominous creature that Jesus intended for us to understand, especially when he associated the fox with people the likes of Herod. And part of the change in how we think of foxes may be due to their familiarity in children's tales. But even if in those children's stories, like the Aesop's fables or things like this, if you read carefully, the underlying threat of the fox is always present. There's a book of fables for small children, and in that book of fables, there's the story of the hen and the fox and the hen. And it goes like this. The hen roosted high on her perch, hungry fox down below on the search, coaxed her hard to descend. She replied, most dear friend, I feel more secure on my perch. The moral of the fable is this: beware of interested friendships. Beware of interested friendships. Let's be honest. The Herods of our time aren't as obviously bad as Herod was in Jesus' time. The foxes of our time are far more clever and sophisticated. They don't really want to threaten us. No, really the most sophisticated foxes of our time, they would rather be our friend. But beware of interested friendships. Remember in the first week of Lent when Jesus was tempted in the wilderness? He was enticed with temptations that could have been used to do good. churn stones into bread, feed the hungry, have authority all over the nations, over all the nations. Who wouldn't want that now in the midst of all this war and conflict? Know that God's protection will keep him from harm. All of these things were good things and could have been used to do good. That's what was so enticing about those temptations. There were good things that could have been used to do good. They might have been good, but they were presented in the wrong context, weren't they? Because for Jesus to have given into any of those temptations would have meant that he would have had to acknowledge a power greater than God in his life. He would have had to bow down to the devil. And that's sort of the same as how the fox works today. The foxes in our lives today don't threaten. They don't choose to threaten. No, the foxes want to be our friend. They want to be our friend. We face temptations around us that are tinged with goodness, with good possibilities. Why not do what it takes to make a little more money, even if the means are maybe a bit dubious? You know, our families would benefit from having that a little bit of additional security, wouldn't they? And if you've got to step on a few people to get ahead, well, they'll get over it, right? And besides, if you don't take that step, somebody else surely will. After all, in this environment, if you don't look after yourself, who do you think will? We're surrounded by many, many temptations. Some even dressed up with all sorts of altruistic possibilities. And we can try to justify them. We can argue that there's good in them, but in the end, they're still what they are. They're temptations. And unless our allegiance is first and foremost to God, these temptations will lead us on the wide path of destruction. My friends, beware of interested friendships. In the season of Lent, in this time of reflection and repentance, God invites us to think about where the fox wants our friendship and what the fox will demand of us for that friendship. We need to think about how we're living, the activities that we're engaged in, and we need to consider how our core values and principles that we know that Jesus has taught us, that Jesus desires of us, can easily get corrupted or taken out of context. Beware of interested friendships. Beware of the fox. Instead, get under the wings of the mother hen. You see, Jesus, the mother hen, isn't like the little red hen at the beginning of our talk. Even though the hen that Jesus compares himself to, even though this hen didn't get any help, even though this hen was deserted by those closest to her, when this hen produces the bread of life, it is offered freely to all. It's offered freely to all, even to those who stood by and did nothing to help. You know, friends, it's a radically different way of being in the world. And so radically different is the way of God's love. And friends, that way has to be our way as well. Thanks be to God. I want you to listen to this beautiful musical meditation by Dr.Jannie Burdeti, our music director. I invite you to join us on Sundays for worship, whether in person here at Richmond Presbyterian Church or on our live stream on our YouTube channel. You could also watch the recorded version on our Facebook page as well. Wherever you are, whatever community you're part of, may God continue to bless you, and may we follow the ways of Jesus. Have a great week.